Hi guys, and welcome to Reality with T. Still here with my lemon ginger, but we have a lot of tea to talk about with Married at First Sight. So let's get started. This is season 11, episode 13. So I'm going to start with Olivia and Brett. So now everybody's in quarantine. So basically, they've already reached the 6 weeks that they were supposed to fulfill in order to get to decision day. But now decision day has been delayed indefinitely. And now everybody has to, any footage that's in the home is, I guess they have a camera that's in the living room area that was already set up. So we see like that type of footage, or they have to film themselves with their own private cell phones or whatever video cameras that they were provided. So there's no more camera crew. There's very little intervention. At one point, they start doing, I guess, Zoom meetings with some of the experts, but for a while, they've just been like living, married life in quarantine. And if you guys can remember, the beginning of quarantine, it was like everything was shut down. Everybody was afraid to go anywhere. So pretty much we were just in the house. Nobody was getting haircuts. This is something we're going to remember forever. You know what I mean? Like just everybody having that same experience. You would go out, there were like barely any cars on the road. It was just, so that's what we are seeing them live right now. So let's start with but let's get over the easy ones. I say they're easy because everything is just going so smoothly for them, right? So Millie and Bennett, so they're in quarantine and talking about how they're falling in love. They find out that Amelia's residency is in Virginia, right? So that's something that they discuss. So in this episode, Dr. Pepper is meeting with all of the women and Dr. Cal is meeting with all of the men. So Dr. Pepper is talking to Amelia, and she tells her about the residency being in Virginia. And Dr. Pepper basically ends up telling her, like, you want him to come with you. You want to be in this relationship. Speak your mind. Let him know how you feel. This is the time to let him know what you want him to do. Dr. Cal talks to Bennett about the move to Virginia, and they talk a little bit about kids and stuff, and then basically Amelia wants kids now. Bennett wants some time. He wants like 4 or 5 years. And he's like, it just makes me think I have to kind of start having like a financially viable career in order to take care of the kids. And, it's like pretty much like single life is over. So it's their wheels are turning. They're thinking about how they're going to make this cross-country relationship happen, how they're going to, like, when they're going to have kids, just how they're going to keep it going, because they're very much in love with each other. So it's pretty much now just figuring out the logistics. So Bennett has decided that at the end that he is going to split time between Virginia and New Orleans, because remember, he has his own theater company in New Orleans. He has life going there. She just got information that she'll be moving to Virginia for her residency. So he's going to be going back and forth, which is great. And Bennett I think he is attractive with that beard. My goodness. And when he isn't wearing like all the dress and the fluff and all the crazy stuff, I'm like, okay, Bennett, I see you. And Amelia decided to cut her hair. And I guess that's something some people do. Like if they're bored, they just cut their hair on their own. I've never done it, but I actually like the cut better on her. It makes her look, a little bit more neat and clean cut. So good job, Amelia. All right. So then we have, no, we're going back to Christina and Henry. I like them. Let's see, Olivia and Brett. So everybody. So right now, a few of the folks on this season are in the healthcare field. So you have them that being essential workers coming and going, dealing with COVID patients in the hospital, whatever clinic they work in. So Olivia is a nurse, so she's still working, and I believe Brett is out of work right now. I think he said somebody on his job tested positive for COVID, so I guess everybody's home for a while. So I'm guessing, I think most of the couples thought we're in quarantine. This is a time for us to really, like, we're forced to stay together. This should heighten our relationship because we're stuck together. We should be spending more time, more cuddle time, more holding time, more getting to know you time. And so he said it made him realize that he has some pet peeves. So, for example, if I'm excited about, Brett is saying excited about showing you a movie of mine, one of my favorite movies, and you spend the whole time on the phone, that's a pet peeve of mine. So it seems like the quarantine has made them kind of, go separate ways. So he talks about the lack of affection he's not getting from her. Olivia feels like their relationship is just kind of stagnant, like nothing has moved. Basically, Brett decided to move his stuff out of the house. He said that he doesn't want his life on hold anymore. Basically, he feels that if this is not moving forward and we're really not into each other, why waste each other's time? Why waste the crew's time? Why waste my time? Let's just end it. And so she went home. I don't know how far her family is, but at one point, I guess one of the things was that he was very afraid of COVID. He was very panicked about it. So his thing was, if we stay inside of our bubble and our shell and we're not going in and out places, going to visit our family, will be safe. She is more aware, working with COVID. This is my life. I'm more aware of the dangers, how I can prevent COVID, the whole thing. So it doesn't have her like that. So she says, I'm going to go check on my family. Apparently she told him beforehand, I'm going to go check on my family. She invited him. He said he didn't want to go. And he felt unsafe with her going to see her family wherever they were. So while she was gone, he packed up his stuff and left. So now we have her talking to Dr. Pepper. Remember, she came back from seeing her family. I think that was low. He said his whole thing, they're kind of going back and forth. He's saying, oh, I texted her. She knew what was going on. I think she overreacted, coming back and saying, that I took everything. So I think when she got back, she called him like, you took everything. He's like, I didn't take everything. She's like, you took all the food out of the cabinets. And he's like, well, no, I left my blender. And it was like by accident. Like, I really did mean that. He was trying to say, like, I didn't take everything. I just ate everything. I didn't take it with me. But then you're also at the same time saying, oh, I did leave my blender or the coffee maker or something like that. So you did mean to take everything. You're saying, you're agreeing with what I'm saying, whatever. So she's talking to Dr. Pepper, and basically Olivia she talks about the fact that there was no communication. They would have issues and there would be never any resolution. So they're having the same argument or conversation, disagreement over and over and over again. She says, he thought that it was a bad idea to leave during the pandemic, but she feels like he didn't express his feelings. Like, she didn't know that he really felt afraid or scared, or how he didn't want her to leave. Like, she just felt like he wasn't straightforward about his feelings, so she didn't really know that it was that big of a deal. She acknowledges that they had fundamental differences between, as far as like the big stuff, housing, kids, travel, all that stuff. So they kind of feel like it would never work. But, she talks about how he moved out and just kind of like, just kind of like he abandoned her. He just left the relationship. So Dr. Pepper did say to her, like, were you also bombarding him with a lot of negativity? Like, maybe he's overreacting. But she said something, I don't even know if I really understand it. Something about her never giving him positivity. So he kind of overreacted. You guys tell me what was said. I'm sorry, I forgot. So then Britt talks to Dr. Cal. And Dr. Cal, he's explaining to Dr. Cal, our cats were fighting. Her cat was scratching up my cat. So basically, that's where I moved, to separate the cats. I brought my cat to be back home so it could be safe. And he said, this was a plan. She knew what was going on. She overreacted. Why is she acting like that? Now, that's BS. You know what I mean? You did not move all the way home because your cats didn't get along. That's ridiculous, right? So he likes to blame other people. He doesn't like to take accountability. He also likes to manipulate and gaslight. So he's like, oh, her reaction is what made me weary. That overreaction, that's what makes me basically like, that's another reason why I don't want to be in this relationship, because she overreacted. When really what you did, your action was huge, and your action caused her reaction or overreaction. They talk about compromise, and he feels like he compromised everything, and she was compromising very little. He said, and they both said very early on, there was attraction there, but it seems like they kind of friend zoned each other along the way, and he kind of feels like there's no point. They were at a point of no return, so that was why he ended up leaving. Basically left the relationship. He left the house physically and then left the relationship. So then after the conversation with the doctors, they have a conversation together. He came back to the house and they discussed the fundamental differences. I want kids now, you don't. She wants to experience life. He doesn't so much. She asks, is there anything we can do to work on it? And he says, no thanks. You're a jerk. You're an asshole, right? So basically they both agreed to end the marriage, which is sad. But I didn't know that they were that far away from some sort of a resolution, but I guess in the end they probably wouldn't have said yes to each other anyway, because they were so different. So I guess that's it for that. Woody and Amani, Amani is ready to tell Woody that she loves him and she ended up telling him. So they're both in love. But then we see at some point during, the quarantine, they got into a big argument over the DMs. And apparently she was joking, saying, oh, let me see all your holes in your DM. And he kind of got like, wait, why are you going through my phone type of thing? I understand it. She's playing, but then he is really kind of like, even if he doesn't have holes in the DM, he felt like his privacy was being invaded. So sometimes, even if you don't have anything going on, it's kind of like, give me my phone though. Like, don't go through my phone. And she's thinking, because it reacted that way, what are you hiding from me? So they're arguing, but then they ended up working through it. So then when Amani talks to Dr. Pepper, she does bring up the argument. But I mean, I guess they resolved it. When Woody talks to Dr. Cal, they talk about kids, and Woody wants kids very soon. She wants to wait a couple years. She wants to experience the marriage first, which I think is smart, and then have kids. Woody has no idea how big a commitment, how big a life change kids are. So I do think they need to spend more time getting to know each other. Then they have a conversation together, Woody and Amani. I think they were talking about, how are you feeling? What are some feelings you have? And at one point he said he was scared of not being that guy. I guess he's scared moving forward. Like, he's so into her. Like, what if I'm not that guy for you? And she says, she affirms him, like, you are enough. You know what I mean? Don't ever let that be a worry or insecurity of yours. You are what you are. I love, and you are enough for me. So I love them. They'll be fine. I honestly think that they'll be fine. Okay. I'm leaving Karen and Miles for last. They have a lot going on. Let's see. Oh, no, but I like Christina and Henry too. All right, so who's next? All right, Christina and Henry. Fine. We'll go here. All right, so, Henry starts out with it being his 35th birthday. And, people are calling him, they're sending him gifts and things like that. And he's like, okay, Christina forgot. And he's kind of like, I don't really care. People forget, there's a lot going on. But if it was me, I would get a very different reaction. I really he makes me laugh. I really like Henry. He has a lot more personality than I thought in the beginning. So Christina talks to Dr. Pepper. And she discusses the fact that Henry always leaves home. He goes home to work during the day. He's always going to the store maybe 2 times a day. Basically, he's trying to avoid being home, right? And then you have Henry talking to Pastor Cal, talking about just the relationship. And basically at this point, it's just laborious. He's just like, you guys, if you have to try this hard, it's not fun. You know what I mean? So, Henry brings up how he feels Christina has been dishonest. So it's like, oh, do tell. So the living situation, number one, he's like, okay, at first she's telling me that she lived in Cali, that she's moving from Cali. Then she told me that she lived in the CBD, whatever area that is in New Orleans. And she's like, okay. Like, when he confronts her, she's like, I never said that. And then she says that she's living out the car. So he's kind of like, okay, I don't know what to trust. You know what I mean? Like, she's not being completely honest with me. Now, she's a flight attendant. And sometimes flight attendants, they might not have like an actual one place to live, and sometimes they stay in crash pads in different cities and things like that because they're constantly flying. So we don't really know, but it's also like, just tell me what it is, because if you tell me, then maybe I can understand what's going on with you, So he feels that she's being dishonest. Then he's noticed that she went on a walk one day, and they show her going out, because there's a camera in the living room, and she's dressed up, she's dressed cute. He's like, okay, she's not dressed, she doesn't look like she's going on a walk. Stayed out. She looked like she was going on a date to me. She stayed out all night, didn't come home until 3 in the morning. And then he's like, I see from her friends posted that they were out hanging out. So why didn't you just tell me that? You know what I mean? So it's basically, there's no communication. And so when they get back together to converse about what was said with the doctors, he basically confronts her, he talks to her about her housing, and she gets immediately defensive. I never said I lived there. And of course they show film of her saying, I live in CBD or whatever. And she's like, I never said I lived there. I never said I lived there. I never. So maybe she said that because her car was there and she's staying in her car. I don't know what she's doing. Or maybe she's staying with somebody. I don't know. So, she gets emotional. And then I understand where she's coming from, because she said this before. Why are you talking to the doctors about this? If this was a question of yours, ask me. Why do you keep trying to put me out there like I'm a liar and this and that, when you could just ask me and I would give you a simple explanation? So I understand that, because it's like you're always so comfortable going to everybody else, but it's like, just come to me. But remember, he's not comfortable confronting her because he doesn't know how she's going to react, and he can't really take a big reaction. So at this point, she's like, you're going saying all these things about me. You're saying I'm dishonest and blah, blah, blah. is there a point? Like, if you don't want to know me, if you keep putting up these, you keep having, like, looking for things as a reason to not like me, such as call me dishonest, call me this and that. Is there a point of this because you don't really want to get to know me? If you really want to get to know me, you would just ask me. And I understand. I can understand what she's saying there. So, then we see Henry come in at the end, and he's like, you know, Christina said that she told him, listen, I got a text that basically you and this other guy are sleeping together. Basically that he's gay. But she wouldn't show him the text. And so he's kind of like, the way he's talking to the camera is like, this is ridiculous. Basically, I think that what Christina does is she gets back at him. So like before, when he said that his deal breaker was her rudeness, the next episode, she comes back and says her deal breaker is his lack of confidence, because she knows that would get him back, you know, in the jugular. So now she feels that he doesn't like her. He's not into her, because remember, she's really horny, and every other guy has been so into her, and you know, they always want to bed her, or they all want to marry her, in love with her. And the fact that it really bothers her, like she almost had an emotional breakdown on the couch talking to him. It really bothers her that he does not want her in that same way. So now I think this whole thing, I do not think that he's gay or with anybody. I think that she is saying this to get back at him for basically talking about her being dishonest and the whole thing, and basically him not wanting her. She would not show him the text, and so he knows, he's like, okay, I think this is BS, but he's upset about it. And I think he's kind of funny, because he's like, I mean, if I was gay, that's not how I would handle that situation. I don't know why I find him so funny. I think he has such a personality. But I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about that situation. So lastly, Karen and Miles. Okay. So Miles is very bored in quarantine. So remember, he works in the school building. So all the school buildings were shut down, right? She does something in the health field. I forgot what it was, but she's coming and going every day. And she comes home, of course, remember, any reason to stay away from me. Remember, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. COVID is really emotionally and physically and mentally draining. The whole thing, you know, she always has something to kind of put up her walls, right? To stay over there, right? So, because of this, you know, she's not giving him the attention that he wants. And she's just giving excuses to distance herself, right? So he doesn't feel wanted. So now she talks to Dr. Pepper, and she says, oh, and this is what I forgot to say about the last episode, was when they were talking about the 1 month anniversary. Cameron was like, she always gives like the book answer, like the textbook answer. You know, I think he's a good guy. You know, I think that we need to grow in this relationship. I want to see the review, blah, 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 blah. She's not connecting with him. So then now she says to Dr. Pepper, you know, he's a good person and this and that. And Dr. Pepper kind of laid into her a little bit. So I want to get back to this good person thing, because Karen is not into him, right? She's just not into him. So she's gonna, because when you keep saying, oh, I know you're a great guy, you're a good person. It's kind of like, oh, you're really cool, you're sweet, you're nice, but like, keep that over there type of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost, okay, I forgot my train of thought. Let me move forward. It'll come back, right? So Dr. Pepper laid into her, and she says, you know what? It's all about your needs. And then she confronts her about, at one point, I guess she said that he has a lot of feminine traits. And Dr. Pepper says, of course, he's going to be upset about that. So now we have shady cameraman, shady producers pulling up all of the clips of when they thought Miles displayed some sort of a feminine trait, and Karen had called him out on it. And I don't think we saw many of these. Like, there was a time when he like did something like that when they were cooking. He was like, oh, there's the seasoning and that. And she said, don't do that with your hand. And then he said to her, he called her sis or something like that. And she's like, no, don't call me sis. I don't want you to be my best friend, that type of thing, right? And so she sees these characteristics as feminine. And so she was explaining it. She was explaining it like, I don't need you to be my girlfriend. You know, he called me sis. That's what girls say to each other. I want you to be my partner, my man. She wants to see him as more of a masculine role in her life, right, in her relationship. And so she says, you know, she doesn't want to suppress her feelings. That's why she says it to him. She wants him to let him know how she feels in the moment. And then she talks about the fact that, I guess the night before, they had a conversation where Miles basically said to her, you know, if we were to have decision day today, I would say no, because I feel like you're not trying. And then she got emotional about it and she cried. So there's something, I don't know if it's she's crying because of the rejection. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that he's into me. I like that he's into me. I'm not into him yet. But the fact that he would say no to me bothers me, because she definitely isn't giving any indication that she's into him. So it must just be that she doesn't like the rejection. We'll see. So then we have Dr. Cal speaking with Miles. He says he doesn't feel wanted. There is absolutely no intimacy, no kissing, no hand holding, no kisses on the cheek, nothing. He doesn't feel like she has the capacity to care for him or love him in the way that he needs to be. And he discusses the fact that she questions his masculinity, and he got angry about it. And he's basically said, I don't think she's ready for a progressive dude. I like that. He's progressive. He's able to talk about his feelings. He's able to show his feelings. He's able to show that he is into her. He's able to do nice things for her. And that shouldn't mean that I'm less masculine, right? So, Pastor Cal, you can kind of see, how he makes the faces. It's kind of like, oh, this is bad. You know what I mean? And you feel bad for Miles, because Miles, like he said before, and Karen at one point said, like something about his depression, like being in quarantine, being bored, not doing much. Pretty much he's waking up, making her breakfast, giving her lunch, getting her car together, doing everything that she needs, he's doing for her. And it's like he's not getting anything back. There's no reward, there's no appreciation, and she's not giving it. You know what I mean? And you see them sitting next to each other. You see at one point he tries to give her a kiss on the cheek and she just turns her head and walks out. Like there's no reward for any of his actions that she's trying to show her. So they have a conversation together. He talked about what they both talked about, what they talked to each of the doctors about, and she says she feels after that conversation there was more hope. He kind of says, let's have fun. Let's get back to having fun, because when we're like joking on each other and having a good time, we have a good time. I think she sees him as a friend. Like she cares about him in a way a friend would care about a friend. She sees him as a friend. She has friend zoned him a long time ago because she was never into him. When I say I feel Karen, I can understand. I'm not saying that Miles is feminine. She is confusing some things. And I think I've said this before. She wants a man though she's able to say he's a great man, he's everything. She knows that he is everything that she needs, but not what she wants. And she cannot compromise that. You know what I mean? She cannot make herself want him in that way. She wants him maybe to be, like I said, a little bit more forward, like Willie, like to be a little bit less to her mushy and less affectionate. You know what I mean? Not everybody's into constant affection, constant touching, kissing, the whole thing. It doesn't mean she wants somebody to be a jerk. It doesn't mean she wants somebody to disrespect her. Maybe she wants somebody with a little bit more swag, a little bit more edge, a little bit more oomph, a little bit more come here, instead of, oh, do you mind if I hold your hand? Do you mind if I give you a kiss on the cheek? Just do it. You know what I mean? Just come up with confidence. Put it all out there. What is there to lose? You know what I mean? That type of thing. I feel very bad for Miles. He's in a situation where it's probably new for him, where he is stuck with somebody in a way that isn't, that you're constantly feeling rejected by, you're constantly feeling unwanted by. This person is constantly not affirming you. So that has to be hard. I don't know, unless Karen can make a turnaround and end up being into him physically, and also just into his personality. This is not going to work. But it sucks that she's not saying that. I think at this point she needs to buck up and say, listen, I'm just not attracted to you. But instead she keeps saying, I am attracted to you. It's just that I'm not affectionate. It's just that this. It's just that that. It's just that I'm tired. Giving all these excuses. Just woman up and just say, listen, let him know, so that you're not stringing him along, because it sucks. Like I said before, if this were real life, she would have ghosted him right now. But they're stuck here. But you're not. You know what I mean? Don't string him along. Just leave. I kind of respect Brett for doing that, because it's like, I don't want to waste everybody's time. If this isn't going to work and we know it's not going to go anywhere, let's just separate. You know what I mean? I don't want to string her along. I don't want her to give her false hope. Just allow her to move on. So she needs to allow him to move on. And those are my thoughts. Let me know how you feel in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week with Reality with T. Bye-bye.